Me about I heard on your podcast this great term I'd never crossed my mind of calling the pandemic and this whole lockdown situation the bubble, or your bubble.
Oh, my bubble.
Exactly. So tell me more about that. I know you were
My bubble.
having a rough time with that the other day.
Well, so I'm on a medication that suppresses my immune system, and it drives it pretty low. And a lot of women are on this medication. This is nothing special in terms of it's a standard of care for ER positive breast cancer, and it suppresses your immune system. And so, pre-COVID, it was sort of just like you just weren't aware of it, right? I didn't radically change my life. Like I said, I was still working for a period of time. I started wearing a mask on planes and maybe not touching handrails and always having
hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer. Thank you. With me. But in this pandemic world, when you don't really know what could happen and you're at a higher risk, we call it being in our bubble. And when everybody was quarantining, it was great. Everybody was in the bubble. Yeah. Wave at the neighbors across the fence, everybody was in the bubble. And as my state came out of quarantine, and just being out, driving one day and just seeing literally throngs of people out in the park on a gorgeous day in the spring. I think I started crying in my car because I just thought I was in my bubble, but I can't go do that. I cannot be out like that. I'm not going to take those risks with my life, and my husband won't take those risks with my life. So it was like in that moment, I felt more isolated than I did during the quarantine. And that has continued because we simply don't take those risks. I think I made a joke the other day that I've been in 5 physical buildings since March 17th. And that's my doctor's, my home, and a couple other homes. I haven't been in a store. I haven't been anywhere where there's, more than 3 or 4 people. And that's mind blowing to think about when can that change? Because I simply won't take those risks.
Yeah. And you shouldn't. Yeah.
But I have to tell you, driving down that street and looking at that park, I'd never felt so. I think that's the most alone I'd felt since my diagnosis. Even when I was first diagnosed, I didn't feel that isolated. Wow. Yeah. It was weird.
I remember when I was first diagnosed many, many years ago. It's not related to coronavirus, but I had the diagnosis and I went out with some very close friends for dinner. And I was sitting there, and then it hit me exactly the same thing. I've never felt as alone as I did at that moment. I saw all these people around me living their lives, and here I was with this diagnosis. And it's probably similar to that. I felt so incredibly alone.
Yeah. You almost get out of your body and
yes,
see.
It was that sort of experience, like really.
Yeah. It's like the only time I can think of in my 4.5 years with this diagnosis where I actually looked around me and thought that's not the life I can have. And that was it was so surreal. It was just such a moment.
Yeah.
But the bubble should still be continuing. In fact, in some states it still is. It's their bad.
My bubble's not moving, Marina. My bubble's a bubble.
Not yours. No, not yours. And of course, but even these people in the parks or in bars or restaurants or disco, whatever, it should not be like that. No. Yeah. So, but that's another conversation, I guess.
Yeah. When it comes to that, the pandemic or really anything, it's, to me, we each know our set of circumstances, and hopefully we're all going to make good decisions based on our set of circumstances. I know what those are for me and my family. I mentioned camping. We have a trailer. We call that the moving bubble because it has a bathroom in it. So I can leave my city and still be safe, which has been, a huge thing for my mental health.
For your cancer center?
Huh?
Wouldn't it be great if you could take it to your cancer center? Although you don't have infusion, so you don't have that problem.
No, I'm okay.
But
yeah.
I wish I had my personal bathroom and I didn't have to use the public bathroom.
When you go in the hospital, yeah, for sure.
Right.
I tell you, I've never had a more efficient visit to my doctor's office than since the pandemic. It goes like this, man. They move you in, they move you out.
Not in my place. They're back to normal. It took them no time at all to get back to packed waiting room and having to sit there and wait
Really?
2 hours. Yesterday, I had to wait for 2 hours for my treatment.
New York City. Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, very well. Would you agree with me that your podcast, and I guess the other volunteer work you do as well around MBC, is like therapy, and it's is a cure in and of itself, and just the community and the reaching out and informing others? For me, it is a little bit, but I would like to hear it from you.
It definitely is for me. When I left my job, I thought for a long time about what it was that I loved most about what I did. And it was my connection and making connections with people at a personal level. And so while I don't have a lot of time in my post-career world, because I do suffer from a lot of fatigue from my medication, I wanted to make sure that where I had energy and where I could spend time was in making connections and helping people at the closest level I could get to them. So, and that is therapy for me, because when I'm talking to somebody on the helpline, it keeps me in perspective. It gives me hope. It gives me inspiration. And some days you hang up the phone and it's exhausting and you have to take a break and process everything you just heard. But when you talk to somebody who's newly diagnosed and you go back to that place that you were at and you can offer some element of hope. I remember the very first person I spoke to who had metastatic disease after my diagnosis. And she helped me greatly in just that short time I had with her, to start to get some perspective, to start to get some hope. And then I had someone else a couple months later who had lunch with me, and I've long credited her with sort of being my turning point of getting my brain from I'm going to die to, oh, wait, okay, maybe there's more here. Maybe there's a life here. It might be a different life than I thought and more difficult. I don't know. I don't know what my other life was going to bring me. Yeah. But it's a different life, and it's still a good life. I still love it. I love my life and my family and my friends and what I get to do. And so getting to do those things is very helpful. It's again, part of the treatment plan, right? It's taking care of your mental health. I haven't found support groups work for me. I haven't found therapy works for me. Mm-hmm. Everybody's different. So this is something that works for me to take care of me.
It's great.
Same with me. Everything Ann said, exactly the same. When the helpline was the first thing for me that actually gave me meaning. And it's absolutely true. When we talk to a newly diagnosed person, I mean, you can kind of relate to this, because when you heard that you have this thing that you have no idea where it came from and what it is, it's so important to find somebody who can talk to you and explain to you and let you know that it's not the end of the world, that there is something after that. And it's a two-way street, We help them and they help us. Yeah. It is emotionally taxing, and as Ann said, sometimes just so exhausted, but there are those days when it just lifts you up.